Why do I even play Gray Zone Warfare? Everyone has their reasons why they choose a game to play. And the list of reasons is just as long as there are choices of games out there in the wild. And it's especially sweet when you discover a game and immediately like it as soon as you land in the actual game.
Get ready, we're moving
Gray
out.
Zone Warfare is a prime example for me. I play a lot of different games. Some share similarities with other titles, and some are clearly unrelated. But they all share 4 key components to consider when choosing the game I purchase or fire up: time, patience, commitment, and cost. These 4 elements don't necessarily dictate what level of fun I will have once I'm in, as they can certainly influence that said level of fun. But it's often suggestive and open to perspective rather than an outright hard rule to follow. Now, before we roll into this, let me set the stage for the newcomers. The channel is about enjoying the time we set aside to escape the everyday grind of life. We don't do a lot of analytics here and definitely don't do the rage slop. We're here to have fun and enjoy the games we play and time we spend with our friends in these games. If you aren't down with that, feel free to close out the video and find those echo chambers, as there are plenty of them out there. Real life has plenty to rage about already, not hobbies like video games. Okay, now that that is out of the way, even though we're here for Gray Zone Warfare today, I will mention some other titles for comparison in regards to the 4 key components I mentioned at the beginning. I like providing context in my videos to paint pictures, and it oftentimes helps relate to other players and their game choices. Now, one of the elements to consider is time. How much time does a player have to invest inside a game they choose to play? Time would greatly depend on how much of it you have and are willing to drop in the games you play, right? Most of us out there have full-time jobs, kids, and families, perhaps. So during the week, you're doing some sort of 9 to 5, whether that's during normal banking hours, a mid-shift, or third shift. Then, when you get home after the metal box rat race of traffic, because the majority of people have skill issues when it comes to driving, you got to get on with the dinner, kids' homework, daily afternoon or early evening house maintenance, whatever your after-work routine is. Okay, then dinner's done, messages caught up, homework's done, and closing in on their bedtimes, or they're off on their own personal time, and you spent your quality time with the significant other, and you have what? 2 hours to yourself? 3 tops? So, you want to maximize the amount of time you spend in any given game. Battlefield 6, Call of Duty, The Division, these arcade-style shooters offer a lot of folks some quick, mindless fun to run quick missions with short-term progress that stacks week after week. And I get that, and I'm down with that. In a direct comparison, EVE Online, or even something less ambitious like Elite Dangerous, isn't as quick as Battlefield 6 or The Division. No sir, one single mission in EVE or Elite can take over an hour or more, depending on the mission parameters. I have found, however, that games like Gray Zone is a middle ground between these examples. Sure, one mission can require 20 or so minutes of your time, but there's plenty of quick tasks and contracts that are 5 minutes in length. And these tasks and contracts tend to go by quicker in groups. In my Discord, we have about a dozen players who jump into Gray Zone every day, but everyone's at different levels, so we tend to overlap the tasks and contracts. Oftentimes, the task and contracts repopulate, and we can run them all together with the repeated missions offering more cash and additional XP for you and through your vendors offering them. I just got Gunny to level 3 by running the Negotiators and the Mystery Machines tasks multiple times, helping my squad run them for their very first time. What I really like about Gray Zone, outside just how stunning it looks and feels, is that it's open early access. It allows me to breathe in a tactical shooter game without feeling too much pressure of the overall game mechanics. As the game progresses in its development, the pressure is sure to increase as we get closer and closer to the full launch. This is an added bonus as far as I'm concerned. I have plenty of time before the full launch to really explore the game at my own pace and learn from mistakes made. I like that it doesn't have a time limit on the tasks and contracts once I deploy out in the field compared to, say, Tarkov. It adds to that whole immersion energy for me. You're deployed, you have your task parameters, and you can take however long you want to run it. This gives me a more laid-back approach, and I'm not always metaphorically sitting straight up and rigid in my chair. Most of us meet up to play Gray Zone around 8 p.m. Eastern Standard, and before we know it, we're asking why our eyes are starting to burn, and we go, shit, it's almost midnight already? I need to get the fuck off the computer and go to bed, fellas. This scenario happens more times than I care to admit. And yes, most of us have jobs. And we do it again the next day. And in that time frame of nearly 4 hours, we got a ton of tasks completed, buy, sell, and traded with each other and the vendors, and make plans for tomorrow's deployment. Some of us didn't even think there would be much to it in the game at this point in its development. But we are pleasantly surprised by what we complete and accomplish in the 3 to 4 hours of play almost nightly. So for me, Gray Zone falls positively in the time category. The game doesn't demand time from you in a sense of asking for too much. The old saying goes, patience is a virtue. In this context, patience falls under two distinct categories. The first is within the game itself, and the second within the gameplay. Remember, folks, Gray Zone is not a hardcore milsim. I would suggest it's more of a milsim light, true tactical shooter. It has elements where you're deployed at a landing zone and then you gotta hike 300 to 500 meters or so to reach the beginning of the task objective you decided to activate. You could just run up in there, guns a-blazing, but the mechanics favor hard into being more tactical and grounded towards real engagement scenarios as opposed to arcade shooters. No, I'm not suggesting this game is as real life gets. Just that it leans more to that than games like Battlefield or Call of Duty. It's much slower paced than faster shooters like those. The game gives you, yourself, room to breathe and set up a strategic engagement point before pulling the trigger. The NPCs will definitely let you know you entered their AoE zones to remind you that you got too close before you could set yourself up. If you learn and do it correctly, you could literally ninja yourself on all sorts of tasks and contracts and simply kill from a distance to clear out the area before approaching it to start looking for whatever intel or objectives you need within those tasks. You have ADS mechanics, sprint mechanics, hunger and thirst mechanics. All of these prevent long-term Leroy Jenkins approaches and slows you down to take your time. The game itself is not designed to go full speed ahead and cause all sorts of chaos. The gameplay is there to remind you of that. This is where I can see a lot of players dismissing this type of cadence in a game. I don't see too many content creators who are all about shooters include milsims or tactical shooter type games in their upload libraries because it isn't fast-paced. Most of them simply don't have the patience for a game like this. See, for me, vibe is a big factor in the games I play. Speed, not necessarily. I could play fast games as much as the next person, but every so often I thoroughly enjoy chilling out with my squad and engaging in a game that doesn't require the constant go, go, go. Arcade shooters like Battlefield asks for very little patience from you, in the sense of the game. Tarkov asks for a ton. Gray Zone kind of lands right in the middle. This is the big reason I said in a previous Gray Zone video that casual Battlefield players could easily jump into Gray Zone without much of a problem adjusting. if you just do the PvE side, you don't have to worry about 32 other players trying to shoot your ass off with their slide cancel trick shots. It's just you, or you and your squad, working together to get objectives done to progress your reputation. Maybe once we reach full launch, the level of patience needed might adjust. Each update the game goes through increases the difficulty of the game and nudges the patience factor up a notch. I personally don't think Gray Zone has that great of a patience tax. Yes, there's a bit of hiking, but you don't spend the majority of your time doing that. But the missions are pretty quick, even with the current state of the game's bugs and such. You are looting, but a lot of that looting is more for intel, food, and drinks, things that primarily help you with your task at hand. The game does have loot you can upgrade with, but there's better places to loot things for that, such as Tiger Bay or Midnight Sapphire. There's local loot, and then there's raid loot. Either way, you can improve upon or even replace gear as you work your reputation with the vendors, which does lessen the patience tax impression. Now, what I mean by that is that the vendors currently have the better loot, but the best stuff is where you start maxing them out. Meanwhile, the locals around the villages and areas of interest drop loot you can work with until you get the vendors up to snuff. Not only does this lessen the patience tax, it also provides the added bonus of not really feeling underpowered or underprotected in the game's current state. I'm getting the impression the developers wanted players to have early open access to stress test the environment with decent gear before they start upping the difficulty closer to a traditional tactical shooter style of playing. And I don't think that's even a bad approach. Open the door for the casual players and players new to the genre, get them involved in helping them figure out where the sweet spot is between casual and hardcore tactical shooters or even milsim players, and adjust accordingly. You just need to come into the game aware of that, and it will become more challenging as the game develops. Now we come to the third key, which may sound a little bit more serious than the others, but the reality is that it's technically the glue that holds the entire idea together. The willingness to invest your time, energy, money, and patience into a game. Commitment. Some games require a ton of commitment. Some players require even more. I mentioned this before in an earlier video, but a Discord member told me about a game clan that took ARMA way too seriously. Like, they demanded total commitment. This was a group of guys that were hardcore military vets and pro-military lifestyle players. They had their own versions of leave requests, Article 15 forms, rules within the game as well as in the Discord, even rules regarding how you address them in communications. Email addresses, phone numbers, and social account links were required to even ask if you could join. Man, I am so not that level of serious. Even being a vet. We're here to play video games, my dudes, not file TDYs, DD Form 1384s, or Standard Form 180s. Chill, my dudes. That's not the kind of commitment we want here on the channel or Discord. And Gray Zone isn't asking for that level of commitment either. You'd log in, check out the gear you start with, go out of the base of operations for an intro mission, come back, and boom! Inventory space. Basically, the game goes, oh, a new merc. Okay, go run this quick task and I'll set your locker up for you. 5 minutes later, you have space for your loot and stuff. There's no real amount of FOMO here either. Sure, there's player events and some developer events, but it's not a real loss at all if you cannot participate or you missed it entirely. That may come later after 1.0, but right now, that kind of commitment pressure is completely absent. And I think that's a good thing. You want people to come in after dropping the cash and start working the game. You don't want them to hand over coin and then pressure them into doing shit right out the gate. Now, there might be some who don't mind that sort of setup, but for most players, that turns them off right away. When we're playing this game, we run the missions. There's comms of check right or check left, contact front, movement ahead, but at the same time, we're talking about the wedding anniversary coming up, the house purchase on the horizon, the bands we watched live, our favorite TV series or films, past and present, and what we're anticipating in the coming months. So yes, there is levels of commitment, especially in a squad setup, but it's way, way, way laid back. And yes, you can indeed approach Gray Zone like that ARMA clan I mentioned earlier. I'm not saying you can't, even if I think it's a bit too much. Remember when I mentioned EVE Online? There's another game that requires a bit of dedication and commitment in comparison. You don't just fire up EVE Online for 15 minutes and think you'll get some stuff done. Oh, no. The same with Elite Dangerous. Not a 15-minute game. No, those require committing a decent amount of time investment into one mission. Hell, in games like those, it's not unheard of to spend a minimum of 15 minutes just getting to the start of the mission. So, with what little time you have during the week or weekend, you could potentially spend all the game time during one thing before you have to log off for the night. Here in Gray Zone, you could knock out 2, 3, maybe even up to 5 tasks in 1 hour and still have a shit ton of stuff to do for your next hour or next game session. Activate the task, hop on a chopper, land at the LZ, run it, collect shit on your excursion, recall the chopper upon completion and head back to the MASH tent to debrief and decompress, reload and go, okay, what's next? I play this game almost every day, usually after I've played the workhorse game. That's one level of commitment. The other levels trickle down to what tasks I run, how many, and whom I run them with. And I really like the ability to take my time. Fast pace is fine, but sometimes I just want to chill. Tarkov is a great game to me, but it's a very sit-up-in-your-chair and focus type of game. Gray Zone Warfare is nowhere near as punishing right now. Now, that may change as the game develops, so keep that in mind. I spoke of the glue before I spoke of the fourth pillar here, and I did so on purpose. Time, patience, and commitment are all important, but I think cost is where people finally make up their mind when it comes to deciding on the overall investment. Starting from the actual purchase all the way through a game's life cycle. And value plays a part in that cost. In some games like Battlefield 6, value and cost often go hand in hand, especially for a live service game. Yes, technically Gray Zone is a live service, but it doesn't have any kind of in-game store like The Division, Battlefield, or Call of Duty. So no skins, no in-game credits, nothing to pay to play type of content. For the time being. That may change in the future. Right now, it's just a straight-up purchase of the game, and that's it. You buy the game, install it, and you're off. If you'll pardon the pun, this was a great selling point for me. I didn't have to buy extras, and they weren't waved in my face every time I fire up the game. I simply just had to choose which version of the game I wanted to play with. If you decide to buy, here's the tiers. Now, I didn't include the prices because Steam has it on sale and those prices don't match the ones on the official website. And I simply bought the base game. I'm not going to read all aloud the details of each tier, but you could pause the video and you can read them. Anyway, for the most part, you grind the game to get all the things each tier offers, with exception of the supporter name color, supporter badge, t-shirt, and gloves. Everything else you eventually get. Plus, you can upgrade from the base game to the support edition through Steam if you decide you want the extras. I plan on doing this, I just haven't gotten around to it. So for me, the value of the cost was that nothing was shoved in my face to buy every time I loaded into the game. I'm not even reminded that I can upgrade. And all of these are big reasons I talk about the game more and more. All of this added to the atmosphere and the value. If the game looks good to you and seeing the footage piques your interest, I can't think of a better time to jump in on it and get that same deployment feel. It's like I said, it's even on sale from the 14th to the 25th, if that adds any incentive. Now, for me, I'm all about having fun, but I'm pretty selective in where I spend my time having fun. And in Gray Zone, I thought the amount of time, patience, commitment, and cost was a good balance for not only the fun we've been having so far, but also the value in that fun. There's about a dozen of us or so in the Discord who actively play this game. And so far, everyone is pretty much in agreement that as the game is now, it's worth the time and money, and we are hoping the game continues to grow and expand. We still love our Battlefield 6, but Gray Zone is just a different rhythm we also enjoy very much. The pace is different, the atmosphere is different. I wasn't initially sold on this game when it was first announced over 2 years ago. I wasn't sure it was going to be my jam and wasn't confident in that value. Now I'm glad I got into it. It's come a long way since then, and we here are all very interested in seeing where it goes. I've said it before, but I will reiterate it here. I could see where a lot of casual Battlefield 6 players could find Gray Zone Warfare not only enjoyable, but consistently replayable. It lands in that sweet spot between arcade shooter and milsim. It's a tactical shooter. If you're into that type of hangout, well, so are we. If you haven't checked out the game yet, or you're on the fence about it, I encourage you to check out as much video content you can find. Check out the website, which I will leave for you in the video description, and see if you can pull the trigger on it. Okay, so it's channel hangout time before the weekend officially starts. If you're still here, I appreciate it. Just hang with me just a little bit longer, alright? And I very much appreciate that some of you have decided to stick around for the channel things after we've talked about this video. Members have decided to hang out every month here on the channel. These guys got into the Super Fans Club early by continually supporting this channel each and every month. They like the channel so much, they stubbornly support it, which allows me to keep the engines running. Their membership is a huge help that encourages me to keep going, upload after upload. If anyone is interested in seeing their names added to the list of monthly supporters for a channel that's more about hangout vibes of playing video games, head over to the Members tab and click Join. I will be honest right now, we're small and revenue isn't God tier yet, but I have big perks in the works for members. Right now, you get special tags attached to your name when you comment in the video or on the streams. I'm looking at extra content for members, discounts in the store, even discounts or free shipping, especially to overseas folks. TBD. Whether it's Battlefield 6 or whatever, the chapter platoons on PlayStation and Xbox are all about the same vibe. They're always recruiting for those who want to join, not only with this game, but any game. And by extension, we have friends of the channel, the Platoon Friends. These creators have their own channels of game content. Some are subscribers, some members, and most are all in the Discord. Take the Hangout vibe to their channels and see if their content is something you'd enjoy. Now, several members, subscribers, and channel friends suggested multiple ways of supporting this channel outside joining the memberships, such as the ones listed here on the screen. Just various options to support content creators so they can continue to grow. Some viewers chose to join as channel members, some chose to send donations like a tip jar. If you yourself have suggestions for channel support, feel free to let us know. And speaking of, Discord is always open to hang out past the video. The Discord acts like a clubhouse with a no scrubs allowed sign hanging from the front door. We discuss the games we play, squad up, and use it for comms. Discord isn't just for comms, though. It's a place where we hang out while we play. Sure, you'll hear things like check right or contact ahead, but you'll also hear hot takes like me suggesting that the 1969 Supersport Camaro is a much more sexier car than any Ford Mustang ever built, including Eleanor. X is the only social outside YouTube that I have right now. I have considered Facebook and other socials, but right now it's just me, and juggling a ton of socials is just extra work for me. If you wish to follow the channel on X, I would not be against it. You'll see the channel has a Twitch account. It's there, but hasn't had any recent activity. I wasn't happy with the initial setup, and so I put it aside for the time being. We were planning on revisiting streaming after relocating the setup from one room in the house to the other, and it looks like we need to do that again. Again, TBD. If streaming is something of interest with you guys, all you gotta do is comment about it. I'm also still trying to figure out how to play the game, engage with the viewers in the stream, and be entertaining all at the same time. When I first started YouTubing, the community I started suggested I launch a merch store, so I did. It's just another way to support the channel if you are interested. Bad dogs and hood rat gear like t-shirts, mugs, decals, things like that. Feel free to check out the store and see if there's gear you'd be interested in. I'm also open to suggestions to add to the store or suggestions about a different storefront. But for anyone interested, here's my gamer tag if you want to squad up. I'm always happy to shoot things with other players. All of this is just ways for me to continue spreading the vibe of enjoying our free time, what little most of us have in our day-to-day. Not just here on YouTube, but also on X and Twitch when I finally figure out the streaming hurdles. The merch store is just there for you to join in on the channel gear, Clubhouse decor, and inside jokes. All of it is just all part of the whole we're here for the vibe, good times, and sharing it with good people thing I think is painfully missing from gaming. One last thing before you start your anticipated weekend. I spotlight military support groups or charities every month. May's spotlight is shining on Military OneSource. For every spotlight, I drop details at the very bottom of the video description so it's easy to find and check out. This channel supports our troops and their families, and I want to share that support with you. And this concludes the briefing, my dudes. Now you could go clock out and go home and get your weekend started. Make sure you drive home safely so you can fire up your games and escape that long week you just finished. Monday, we return to Battlefield 6's Season 3 and fun I've been having with the new Goldmud map and typical shenanigans I have there. Have you fired up Season 3 yet? Have thoughts on it? You know where to go to tell me. And until the next one, out.